The Michigan primaries are underway today. We'll hear some analysis and voter concerns. Concerning illegal immigrants who cause violent crime, New York City's mayor says get rid of them. He's calling for the deportation of violent criminals among illegal immigrants. It comes amid a national uproar over a Georgia college student's murder, allegedly by an illegal immigrant. The U.S. Army is downsizing by slashing thousands of empty, unfilled jobs. They're going through a major restructuring after struggling with years of recruiting shortfalls. Russia relies on American technology in its war with Ukraine. It's a fact unknown 2 years ago. Now, Washington lawmakers try to solve the problem. Will France send troops to Ukraine to support its fight against Russia? It's a proposal from the French president that one publisher says is not sitting well with its citizens and fellow lawmakers. The former Chinese foreign minister that went missing is back in the news. The diplomat Qin Gang has stepped down. We'll tell you more about his mysterious ouster. A new Epoch Times documentary explores how the Chinese Communist Party influences the storyline in Hollywood movies, even those that play for American audiences. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Jack Bradley. The Michigan primaries are underway today with a lot at stake for both Democrats and Republicans. Here's what voters are telling us so far.
All eyes will be on Michigan Tuesday as the 2024 campaign comes to the nation's first big swing state. Less than 24 hours after losing in her home state of South Carolina, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley vowed to stay in the race for the Republican nomination for president. She brushed off the loss of a big donor in the Americans for Prosperity Group, the political arm of the influential Koch network.
I mean, look, AFP never gave us monetary funds, so we were never financially dependent on AFP. They're a great organization that believes in freedom and smaller government, and I appreciate the partnership, but that wasn't something we were focused on for money.
Former President Trump is going into Michigan as the favorite, but trouble within the Michigan GOP could come back to haunt him in November. GOP Chair Christina Caramo is an ardent Trump supporter, but the former president has thrown his weight behind ex-ambassador Pete Hoekstra to take her place. Reports of party infighting and financial struggles have recently made headlines, though the amount of debt hasn't been confirmed by party leadership. Trump won Michigan in the 2016 general election by a narrow margin, with President Biden reclaiming it in 2020. But the state may not be an easy win for Biden either. The president faces strong opposition from Muslim and Arab communities over his support of Israel in the ongoing war against Hamas. Michigan has one of the largest Arab American populations in the country.
To show President Biden and all the other candidates that we support Palestine.
Abraham Ayash, a top Muslim lawmaker in the Michigan House, urged supporters to vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary. Biden is still expected to win by a big margin on Tuesday, but a significant number of uncommitted votes could signal trouble for the incumbent president in November.
As Michigan voters head to the polls for today's presidential primary, many have major concerns, and among them is the state of the U.S. economy and smart, effective leadership. We spoke with a number of voters who say they want to elect a president that they can follow.
They need to keep the economy well, and more importantly, they need to lower the taxes. Because I want my full paycheck.
I'm voting for Trump. You gotta vote for Trump. Even our mayor here, Whitaker, our governor, she is wanting us to pick up illegals, bring them into the country, take care of them in our state at our expense. And this was just done not too long ago. We got to get rid of the left and bring up the right, because our country is wrong. Now that I retired, the prices of everything are going back up again. I might have to go back to work. This is getting bad out here with prices.
The United States Army is slashing 24,000 jobs, which is about 5% of its force. The job cuts mainly will come from those positions that have not been filled. The cuts include 10,000 spots for engineers and other roles related to counterinsurgency, 6,500 from training posts, 3,000 cuts from special operations, and 2,700 from various units that don't often deploy. Now, it comes from as the military has been for years struggling with recruiting. The Army is structured to have about 494,000 soldiers, but only 445,000 of those positions are filled. Last year, the Army, Navy, Air Force, they all failed to meet recruitment goals, while the Marine Corps and Space Force were able to. Russia is attacking Ukraine, largely using American technology. Intel, Analog Devices, AMD, Texas Instruments. The world is finding their tech in Russian missiles, drones, and munitions. During a congressional hearing on Capitol Hill, U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal says Russia relies on American technology.
This photo features a type of missile that flies at very low altitudes, making it hard to detect. Low altitude, slow flying drones or missiles are the next one of the ongoing present threats to both United States forces and Ukrainian forces, very difficult to intercept and counter. Ms. Sweeters, can you tell us about this weapon and the attack that it was used in?
This is an Iskander cruise missile that one of my Ukrainian colleagues took a photo of. And it was recovered mostly intact, in this case, from the battlefield in Ukraine. And then we were able to open those systems and document all the components that were found inside. For a cruise missile, about 50% is non-Russian components. And when you look at drones, you go to almost 100% non-Russian components.
Russia gets this tech from third country distributors, acquiring much of it before the war, stockpiling ahead of Western sanctions. Experts say the country is still getting the latest technology by slipping past the sanctions. Now, they believe it's very hard for companies to trace where all their tech goes. Lawmakers are pushing back, saying that it's still important to try. French President Emmanuel Macron opened the door of possibility of European nations sending troops to Ukraine. A move met with warning from the Kremlin. This announcement made today has stirred reactions on an international scale. NTD's France correspondent David Vivez speaks with the publisher, who says both the French public and politicians have been shocked by the president's words.
Earlier today, President Macron opened the door to European nations to send troops to Ukraine. He said that France could not rule out the potential need for it to ensure Russia does not win the war. This comes after a meeting with European leaders in Paris, although he's cautioning that there was no consensus at this stage. A quick response from the Kremlin spokesman warning that if NATO members deploy troops in Ukraine, it would make conflict between Russia and the US-led NATO alliance inevitable. Several heads of states across Europe, including Germany, Poland, Sweden, and Czech Republic, said this was not on the agenda.
I've just said that boots on the ground is not an option for the Federal Republic of Germany. It cannot be an option, and it will not be an option. Apparently, nobody followed up on it yesterday. At least that's what I know.
According to French publisher Régis Le Sommier, the French president's announcement echoes a recent comment he made at the Paris Farm Show, where he said Russia attacked us. But this shouldn't be taken seriously, he said.
It doesn't seem serious, because you really get the impression that the head of 10 European countries that met last night don't have the same vision, and that Emmanuel Macron is a bit of a pushover. Perhaps he wants to appear as the president of Europe.
Several party leaders spanning from far left to nationalists are criticizing Macron's announcement. Opposition leader Marine Le Pen said it sounds very serious to her. The left-wing spokesman calls it a total madness.
It was a statement that shocked everyone. Many members of French Parliament and politicians have asked for clarification, because we get the impression that the French president is deciding the country's foreign policy all by himself. And all this, I can tell you, is of great concern to the French people today.
Just like in the United States, the French president is also the head of the armed force and has the power to mobilize troops. So while Macron said nothing is certain, his announcement isn't to take lightly. As for now, members of French Parliament asked the president to clarify his words. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
New York City police, using surveillance footage, arrest 3 people in connection with a deadly shooting on board a subway train last week. Investigators say the suspects got into an argument with the victim, 45-year-old William Alvarez, before fatally shooting him. The unnamed trio faces charges of murder and criminal possession of a weapon. It's the second fatal shooting in the subway system this month. A 35-year-old man was gunned down and 5 others hurt during a shooting at another Bronx subway station. The NYPD is stepping up police patrols to combat the shootings, with more officers working 12-hour shifts. More on crime in the Big Apple. In denouncing the criminal actions of some of New York City's illegal immigrants, Mayor Eric Adams says hand them over to immigration and deport them. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and the national outcry over a murdered nursing student in Georgia.
Crime was surging in the wrong direction.
Mayor Adams was speaking at a town hall meeting in Brooklyn. He addressed illegal immigrants committing crimes in the city, including armed robberies as well as gun and drug possession.
We need to modify the sanctuary city law that if you commit a felony, a violent act, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported.
Adams says the migrants committing crimes are a minority and that most want to work. The mayor called out the federal government for not allowing them to do so. The comments come in the wake of the tragic death of a nursing student in Georgia, allegedly murdered by an illegal immigrant from Venezuela. Arrest records allege that Jose Antonio Ibarra killed 22-year-old Laken Riley by blunt force trauma to the head. ICE says Ibarra was arrested in 2022 for being in the country unlawfully and then paroled. The accused murderer was reportedly arrested in New York for allegedly endangering a 5-year-old child several months before Riley's murder, and then released by the NYPD before a detainer was issued. Former President Trump blamed the Biden administration on Truth Social, writing, "The monster who took her life illegally entered our country in 2022 and then was released again by radical Democrats in New York after injuring a child." The White House also offered condolences to Riley's family and loved ones on Monday. The accused killer Ibarra was denied bond and is being held in the Athens-Clarke County Jail. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
As Trump forges ahead with his campaign, he continues to be the main Republican contender in the election. Earlier, I spoke with former White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley, who says Trump's policies and handling of challenges are why there's a more full-scale embrace of Trump in the Republican Party. Hogan Gidley, former White House Press Secretary and Deputy Assistant to President Trump, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, you're a long lifetime resident of South Carolina, is that right? And you've been there just recently to help campaign for President Trump. Tell us about why you're supporting Trump and why you think he could be the best president.
Well, I worked with him really closely in some of the most difficult times this country has ever faced, both domestically and internationally. I watched him deal with not just the House and the Senate, not just governors, but also other leaders of other nations. And I watched him fight for the American worker, getting trade deals that benefited our people for the first time in decades, and peace deals no one thought possible, energy dominance and independence, being net exporters of oil for the first time in decades, bringing hostages back, lower taxes, lower regulations. All of those things are significant, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I didn't even realize how much policy mattered until I got into the White House and watched what he was able to do and how it affected people. So for me, I took a look at the individuals running for president. I worked with him closely. I knew he was the right person for the job. And at a time when you see a weaponized federal government, 3-letter agencies attacking people just for liking the wrong tweet or downloading the wrong podcast or coming on the wrong show, you need somebody to stand up against that. And I think it's interesting because Donald Trump not only has the knowledge now of being president of the United States, he has wisdom about how that office is run, who is out to get him, who isn't, and really can do the things we need to get done.
What do you think about the legal trials that Trump is facing right now? How do you think that's impacting him, and how does it affect you?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because there may be a handful of Republicans, maybe, who could have handled the onslaught that Donald Trump faced while he was president. Handling it meaning gotten through it. But he not only got through it, he also passed policies that benefited everybody in this country, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. He had record-setting success and record-setting time in the face of all of that. So the legal challenges he faces today is basically just an extension of what they tried to do to him before. They're trying to bleed him dry monetarily. They're really trying to hurt his reputation. They don't care if they win these. If they won them or got a conviction, that's just icing on the cake for them. What they want is to so muddy the waters that anyone who's thinking about going back and voting for Donald Trump thinks twice about that. I just think it's not going to work. I think COVID was an interesting year. The setup for the election made things much more difficult, and I think you have somebody in Donald Trump who can weather these storms. He's done it before, and I think he's going to be successful in doing it again.
Hogan Gidley, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is facing another recall from conservative activists. This after he fought off attempts to remove him from office in 2021. A citizen-led group served the governor with recall documents on Monday. Organizers are currently seeking 1.5 million signatures needed to qualify their effort for the statewide ballot. The attempt is being led by Rescue California. The group says Newsom is abandoning the state to advance his presidential ambitions. One of the group's reasons for the recall effort is the state's looming budget deficit. A projection last week put it at $73 billion, though the governor estimates the number is close to $83 billion. They say they were also motivated by California's decisions to grant free health benefits to illegal immigrants and criminal justice changes they say would contribute to higher crime rates as well as prolonged school closures during the pandemic. The foreign Chinese minister that went missing is back in the headlines. The diplomat Qin Gong has resigned from the national legislature. That's according to Chinese media reports. Qin disappeared from public view last June. It caused many by surprise. It caught them by surprise, and he was scheduled to meet with U.S. diplomats at the time. Beijing didn't give speeches, but said he missed some meetings due to, quote, health reasons. He was dismissed a month after disappearing from public view. Beijing tapped Qin's predecessor, Wang Yi, to replace him. Qin's disappearance piqued public interest, partly because high-level Chinese officials in Xi Jinping's cabinet have been disappearing one after another. Speculation has run rampant as to why they've gone missing. The officials' ousters are believed to be signs of political friction inside the Chinese Communist Party. When we come back, a new Epoch Times documentary explores how the Chinese Communist Party influences the storyline in Hollywood movies, even those that play for American audiences. A delay in getting approval from being listed in the New York Stock Exchange, China-based fast fashion giant Shein is seeking to go public in London.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
One in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, not enough energy to play. All around the world, hunger is affecting children's physical and mental health. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. Conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we are fed up. Fed up that hunger devours dreams. Fed up that hunger destroys joy. Fed up with the fact that hunger eats childhood. Help us feed the futures of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients. Prevent children from dropping out of school. Support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Having your childhood eaten away by hunger is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
Welcome back. Hollywood movies need the approval of the Chinese Communist Party before they can play in China. Now, this often involves rewriting key aspects of the movie to fit the CCP's liking. But it doesn't stop there. Chinese control in the American film industry goes way, way beyond this. Now, this is explored in a new documentary by the Epoch Times called Hollywood Takeover. The film is debuted over the weekend at CPAC, which I attended. Now, it's one of the largest yearly gatherings of conservatives. Take a look at the audience's reactions immediately following the screening.
It was outstanding and very enlightening. This documentary brings to light how influential the CCP and the obscene amounts of money that are the impetus for Hollywood to betray all of the best about this country.
I love it. Anything that brings out truth, I'm all about. We in America are starved for truth, even though we have the ability to have access to a lot of knowledge. We are just very ignorant of what's really going on in the war in the world, and so we just really appreciate Epoch Times to doing what they've done.
To me, a movie should be made. It's like Nick Searcy said, he had a movie he was making, and he's like, I'm not going to change the script, because that's what the artist had intended. So to change it, to have the regime of China, the CCP, any totalitarian government control art, it is exactly what Hitler did.
People need to watch the Hollywood Takeover. I think it will educate them, it will inform them, and they need to quit listening to the lies of the mainstream media on this stuff.
Hollywood Takeover, China's control in the film industry, premieres on Epic TV on March 8th. Shifting to your health now, a major recall to tell you about involving eye ointment medication. The medicines in question, which help in the treatment of eye infections, can further cause damage if used. Now, that's according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The FDA is recalling some Indian-made eye medicine following an inspection of the company's production facilities. The recall of eye ointments that treat infections are made by Beresca Pharma. Now, the list of products can be found on store shelves at Walmart and CVS. And now, as you see here, the list includes Equate Lubricant Eye Ointment, Equate Style Lubricant Eye Ointment, CVS Health Lubricant Eye Ointment, and Lubricant PM Ointment. The FDA inspection found the factories where these products were made lack proper sterilization processes. This is the second recall for the drug maker. Beresca Pharma recalled 27 types of eye drops sold at major U.S. retailers last November. An online retailer that's become known for selling cheap clothing and accessories is looking to list itself on 2 major stock exchanges. The company is coming under scrutiny because of concerns of how it does business and its ties to the Chinese Communist Party. China-based fashion giant Shein is filing to list on the London Stock Exchange. Published reports say the CEO of the global clothes and accessories company, Donald Tong, met with British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt about the potential listing. If successful, the IPO, valued at $90 billion, would be the largest ever for the British exchange. Shein is also waiting for the approval to be listed on the U.S. Stock Exchange. However, the process is stalled as U.S. lawmakers question the company's business practices. Among the concerns are many, and it's that the company is using cotton that has been sanctioned and some other issues with some of its suppliers. Should the U.S. government block the import of low-cost Chinese auto parts from Mexico? A U.S. manufacturing advocacy group warns the CCP threatens the viability of American car companies. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's business brief.
Okay, thanks, Jack. So for today, it seems like concerns are growing over cheap Chinese auto parts making their way to the U.S. from Mexico. Now there are calls to block those imports. The Alliance for American Manufacturing warns Chinese-made parts could threaten American car companies and lead to plant closures and job losses. The trade group believes China is trying to take advantage of a trade deal between the U.S. and Mexico, which gives preferential treatment to vehicles and parts made in Mexico. Now, the renewed concern comes after China-based BYD announced plans to open an EV factory in Mexico. And the group is calling on the U.S. government to block the imports of low-cost Chinese autos and parts from Mexico. Meanwhile, Walgreens is out, Amazon is in. The online retail giant has officially joined the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Amazon joins Apple, JP Morgan Chase, and Coca-Cola in Wall Street's most respected stock index. S&P Dow Jones Indices, who manages the 30-company index, says Amazon ousting Walgreens reflects the evolving nature of the U.S. economy. Right now, Walgreens Boots Alliance has the lowest stock price in the index, down nearly 70% in the past 5 years. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Don. Now you're up to date. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Jack Bradley. We'll have more stories from the U.S. and around the world. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'll see you tomorrow.